All right. Hello, everyone. It is Jeanette the Oracle, your resident spiritual life coach and business strategist. I am here for my Entrepreneur Hour. So I'm going to give a second for folks to come in. This time is a time for me to provide some free entrepreneur coaching for folks. I definitely want to touch base on some of the topics that I brought up with the poll that I put in my stories early this week around strategy and leadership. So if that is something that interests you, definitely stick around. I do want to answer questions. I would love to have folks come on live with me if you feel comfortable. If not, go ahead and post your questions that you have in the comments, and I will read it and answer it and provide some examples and hopefully help you with whatever you are questioning. What I'm actually going to do right now, though, for those of you who would like to donate for the time and the energy, here is my, hold on one second, PayPal. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming in. Please do, as you come in, love the video and also share this with any other folks that you know who are entrepreneurs, particularly solopreneurs who are, in business and are wanting some free coaching. And like I said, please put in the comments questions that you have. And if you're willing to come on, join live with me, that'd be great as well too. Because I love to talk, and if you've been following me for a while, like you know, I love to talk. I love to connect with folks. So if you're comfortable, definitely let me know as well too. But let me put my PayPal in here for you. No obligation for the PayPal, but it's here. Of course, you can do it. I have the link in my bio as well. All right, so I'm gonna post this and then I'll pin that. Okay, there we go. All right. So, hello again and welcome. It is Jeanette the Oracle. It's been a second since I've been on. Oh, hey, Nick now. So this is going to be Entrepreneur Mentorship Hour. So if I stay on an hour, it's going to be up to y'all. But I will devote up to an hour of time to provide some open and free coaching for everyone. I just put my PayPal pinned there. So if you would like to donate to me, that would be great. Good to see you as well. I hope you are doing well. I know life is just lifing and we are all trying to do the best we can at this time. But it's good to see you as well. I hope that you are well. The two things that seem to be what interested folks when I put up my poll in my stories this week was talking about strategy and then talking about leadership. And I was giving definitions of authenticity and leadership. So authenticity is about that which is real rather than that which is copied or fabricated. Because at first I was asking about authentic leadership, so I wanted to make sure I defined that. And then leadership is about influencing and guiding others, right? So we'll talk about leadership. And then strategy, which is how I define it, your goals rooted in your why and realized through your tactics. Restructuring, but so much growth. Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know. Awesome. Let me wave to folks that are showing up. Hello. All right, so off the bat, does anyone have any questions that they're just like, regardless of whether or not it's related to the topics that I, have mentioned this week, but anything that's actually like pressing for you right now as you're doing the solopreneur thing, whether you are just starting out, whether you've been doing it for a while, what is there for you that is coming up? I want to give space for that first and foremost. Again, you can either put it in the comment, or if you would like to jump on and join me here on the live video, we can do that as well too. I'm open to both. So I'll give y'all a second to, put that in there. While I sip on some tea, you know how I do. And then I want to get into those those topics. Hello, Adeola. Let's see. Hello, everyone. I'm working on relearning. Oh, your comment cut off. You're working on relearning something. So let us know. Nick Nell says, I'm definitely owning the fact that I am entrenched in entrepreneurship more so these days. I thought it was just going to be one business. Oh, I love that. Yeah. And so this is the thing. So something I find, and whether this is really for essentially children of Africa, and I just say that as a global term for those who are either still on the continent or diaspora folks, we are truly multifaceted. So it's rare that we're only going to be doing one thing. But coupled with that, if you are also an artist, a creative, like I am, like Neek Neal is, like most of the people actually who are on here are, we have multiple things that we are focusing on. And one of the things that Spirit in particular has been dealing with me with is to stop bringing, or to not stop, but to see where being employee has been limiting my ideas of what is available for me in terms of opening up avenues of revenue, in such a way that, like, thinking that, okay, this one thing, this one business is to be the primary driver of revenue and income for me, as well as build fund for dreams and all that kind of stuff. And it's fine if you're kind of like, if you have a business and you have that goal. But for myself, what I've been paying attention to over my life is I've always been doing multiple things. I've always essentially had multiple streams, if you will, of expressing myself. Some of those may or may not have been generating money, but the importance of kind of bringing and shifting that mindset to being like, I am the hub and I have all these different areas that I want to express and learn through and grow. And I can take some of the pressure off of myself, because it's self-imposed, it's not from outside world, of trying to make something be my all, which ultimately is going to put me in a position where, like, if something happens with that one thing, I'm going to be destabilized, right? So leaning into my natural tendencies to be open to a lot of different things, and to seek to excel and to learn and to grow in those different areas, so that I'm staying true and authentic to my nature, as well as, respecting myself and my needs for security. And I think a lot of times with entrepreneurship, we're like, oh, I have to like stick with the one thing. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. Now, the caveat to that is, I do think that if it's your first time being in business, you are going to have to double down on whatever that one thing is, and really get it to a place where it is profitable, one, and two, to a place where it actually can replace whatever you might be needing financially. And not that it necessarily has to stay that way, but there's so much that you learn about yourself. There's so much growth that you have to go through. There's so much sifting and skill building and stretching out outside of your comfort zone. And it's difficult to actually essentially become a better version of you if you give yourself an out, right? By distracting yourself by a bunch of other things. So it is a bit of a catch-22. I think that once you've kind of been in one business for a while, and you kind of have that going to some level of stability, regardless of how much you're making, but like it's kind of doing its thing, then I think it'd be great to like kind of branch out and explore other things and give it more of your attention, so that you, as you add on new things that you are interested in, whether they're creative projects, new businesses, or whatever, you are taking the lessons that you've learned from the first place you started, and getting through lessons faster, collapsing time so you achieve your goals faster, sifting through a lot of the bullshit, and just getting really clear about what is needed and what's not needed, and what your standards are, right? That just sent me on a tangent, but thank you for sharing that. Let's see. So for the folks coming in, welcome. This is a Entrepreneur Mentorship Hour. Let's see. Kara says, hey all, I also learning about my style of leadership and where it is actually needed. Ooh, I'm assuming you wrote more about that because I'm like way behind on comments, so I'm gonna circle back. But I like that style of leadership. Adiola says, relearning what success and failure looks like in my journey as an entrepreneur. Yeah, that's an interesting one because it's so hard to define what it really means for you versus what it really is for other people. And we think we have it, but it's so strong how much we want to be like everyone else and what is considered successful and what is not considered success, that it actually can take a while to kind of unpack that. Let's see. I'm leaving my corporate job because it has been limiting in my expansions. Ooh, yes. What I will say though is like, for folks who are blessed and privileged to be currently employed somewhere else, really, again, double down on getting your business to a place where it is replacing your job income, and or at least be 75 to 80% there with a good amount of savings. Because let me tell you, it is not easy when you like fully are in that. Like I definitely was highly blessed and favored within that first year to get my needs met. But I know that is the exception. It is not the rule. And I do think it is possible, but I do think that, again, if you have the privilege to have that in place, like sometimes what I find with the clients who are in that position, they'll think that their behavior is going to change once the job is over or out of their life. Like, oh, once I have all this more time, I'm going to be able to devote more to my business. But the thing is, like, having time constraints is actually in your benefit, because what it forces you to do is to develop viable products and services that are actually selling, right? And you have to pay attention to, okay, what's actually moving? What actually is generating income in my business versus like what's just fun for me or what I think is important for folks, but they may or may not be necessarily ready with. Like, it's all that kind of stuff. And that's where the limits can help. Because sometimes once we have a lot of time and we don't have those perceived constraints, we can just be like, I'm going to do all the things, but do all the things in that first year of having your business, right? When you are taking that step to have your business support you fully, you got to be real quick about cutting shit out. Really leaning into Emperor as I've shied away from leadership in pursuit of contentment does not work. Why are you reading me, Neek? No. For those who don't know, both me and Nick Neal are Life Path 22 folks, so we sit in that Emperor energy. So like I'm choking right now. Oh goodness. All right. I'm loving these comments. Let's see. Listen, I was working a salary job last year and completely fell off. Got laid off in January and Spirit was screaming, "Get back to the real." Also that, because, again, in my situation, I am hard-headed. I had no intention of jumping. I got laid off, and so I had to. But fortunately, with my personality type, with a Virgo stellium, like, doing that work of progressing through things quickly, or quicker than probably most folks is a thing. But yeah, you get like pushed out. But at least you had a salary job though. Listen, learning not to rely on safety in order to move forward. If anything, lack of safety encourages movement. Yeah, so I just posted today actually about a message from Spirit about what we are doing now is literally creating the road and the experience that we're stepping into tomorrow. And so this idea of safety, while it is rooted obviously in practical concerns, and you want to make sure that you are you're safe and you're stable, it should only go as far as like literal, food, housing, shelter, right? Everything else beyond that is, okay, what am I doing that is directly aligning me with what I say I want? And what am I doing also that is setting up my environment, my conditions, my relationships to support that? And that's not going to be a safe place. That is necessarily going to be outside of your comfort zone. Those are two different levels of safety. One is like literal, practical, physical safety, and another is emotional safety or mental safety, both, right? Because part of that exploring new things also means that we have to learn new things. We have to become student again. We have to be making mistakes, and our ego doesn't like that. Thank you, Aisha, for sharing this live. I appreciate it. I'm so happy I caught this live. I'm happy you caught it too. Yes, we've also missed Unique. Get back to the real. It's a shout from Spirit. Yeah. Right. Speaking of that, let me sip some tea. So, and part of that message from Spirit about, what we do now is builds tomorrow is a reminder that, at least for me anyway, I've experienced that this idea that if everything is not going in the way that I want it to go, then everything has to stop. That's one thing. The second thing is that given the steps that I can take towards certain goals, they actually don't require a lot of the things that, would be necessary maybe 5 or 10 years down the road. A lot of it is really just stuff for me specifically to do, relationships for me to build. That doesn't have to get stopped or postponed just because I'm in my ego, because everything else that I want to be working out doesn't line up in the way that I think it should. Case in point with my creative stuff, it's like, because I can be so neurotic about like, okay, if this is not going well, if something in business is not going well, if I'm getting shaken over here, it's like, I zone in on all the things that are going wrong, and I miss the simple things that can still be moving the things that are not going wrong ahead, right? Like that's a way that I can get into my own way. So I've been trying to hold up, lady. 4 cups energy. Right. So no, I've been watching that pattern in myself. And so like, I'm in this space right now where like I can see, especially with this new Saturn transit and the nodal influences, like, oh, I can look back to certain periods in my life back when these energies were popping up again, where I was sitting in this kind of like victimhood of like, oh, I don't have as much as others. I'm not as resourced, yada, yada, yada. And while in a practical sense that can be true, it's not the full truth, because there are still some resources, and it's also not speaking to the fact of what can you do to set yourself up to have that for the short term, the midterm, and the long term. And a lot of times it really just means, giving myself permission to try something different, to not be good in the beginning, to center my needs and my wants and what actually feels good in my spirit, right? First and foremost, which necessarily means that it'll be peaceful. It might feel uncomfortable emotionally, but it shouldn't be like, triggering all the things. Yeah. Awesome. So what questions do we have around leadership? I saw something post about style of leadership. That's interesting. Now, inherently, leadership first and foremost starts with self. You have to be leader in your own life and how you approach life, i.e. really taking agency and exercising your power where you actually, have power, which is really just only over yourself, before you can address leadership of others. So there's that component, and then leadership of others. So the leadership of others, I would say we could break down into two different things. So one is going to be actual leading of a team or contractors that you're working with, or sales, because sales is a leadership thing. Leadership is, having the vision, communicating that, and bringing folks along. That is actually sales. So which of those, that kind of internal leadership thing, are we leaning more towards around, leadership stuff, or external, whether that is, again, managing others or related to sales that you might have questions on, you want to kind of talk about a bit. I'm learning that leadership means bringing people where they want to go, not where I think they should be. Yes, and that still has to be within the context of your skills and expertise. Right? Hopefully that makes sense. So give me an example of where they're wanting to go. Because often where they're wanting to go is like, if it's not a specific goal or a skill, it's a mental or emotional state. But give me a recent example of what that is. More so I can, talk about that for other folks, because that is also a thing that comes up specifically for folks who have businesses that provide services. So that could be anything from, being a VA, doing spiritual work, social media marketing, things like that. So I'll often cut a journey short because it's not the most efficient path. Interesting. So you would cut their journey short? Meaning like you're working with them over a period of time and then there's a goal? So actually I'm glad this is coming up, because what this actually speaks to me is the development of what the framework or the process is that you take folks through. That's the path. Folks can spend as much, relatively depending again how you're setting things up, but they can spend as much time as they need in each section, but the path is laid out. So is it really more so about how quickly they go through the process, or the fact that you're trying to customize a process to each person's situation? Because, in the beginning, that makes sense because that helps you tease out what your process is. And I would recommend doing that for at least a year so that you can actually see what's happening. And then you distill that information to like, this is something that regardless of what folks are coming to, for the most part, this is the process. Trying to emulate information. So, but in coaching, I may see something and I need to provide a path to get there, not just say, do this and be done. Yeah. So that is, and that's my thing. Like I create frameworks processes, methodologies, and tools for folks. That's what I do as a coach, as a trainer, is I create programs, whether that is the Sovereign, my small group coaching program for entrepreneurs, which will be open up enrollment again for summer, or in my private retainer, right? It's, okay, understand what your goals are. These are the frameworks and processes that I have available to potentially support you with that. If that is mutually agreed upon that is something that will work, then we move forward on that path. But it's not just, at least for me anyway, because that's just not my gift. That's not my talent. We're not just here willy-nilly hanging out for months on end. If it's a one-off session, like, that's fine, because it's just a one-off session. Like, we'll talk about things. I'll help you develop some strategies, tactics, tools, and it's on you to do that. What most folks are really needing and wanting is support through the process. But they actually need a process and a need to not, if they're coming to someone as a coach or as a wise person, if you will, they're coming because you already have, or you should have, experience in doing a thing. And it's about centering the work rather than you or your personality or feeling good, right? Your job is not to be friends with your clients. Your job is that's not the thing. It's now whether or not that process or that path works for a person, it's to be seen. They obviously have to put in the work, for one, but also two, it may or may not work for their life. But regardless, both of you should give your best effort to making that be the thing. And then that person can be like, okay, yes, this worked for me, or no, it didn't. But now I know it didn't, and I know now what I might need instead of that to get to where I want to go. Because our no's lead to yes, and our yes leads to more yeses. So either way, there's going to be a yes, right? But that's a big thing. And I have a bit of a pet peeve, especially in the service space, regardless of what the service is. But for a lot of folks, whether they are like actually consultants or they're in the spiritual fields, or what have you, there's a resistance to leaning in and valuing what you already know, what you already have your expertise in. It's like folks will keep moving their own goalpost for what success looks like with each new client that they work with, because they're still trying to better themselves. But if you've already been successful in something, already have expertise in something, that's the thing. What you do beyond that for greater and greater, personal and professional development, that needs to be separate from what you're trying to take other folks through. Stop making the hill bigger for them. Is that making sense? Right? So that's one thing, is like just not doubling down on what really differentiates you in your process, your proprietary method, your IP, however you want to describe it, what differentiates you from others. So there's that. Welcome to folks coming in. And then there's the other thing of you, and I'm just saying you generally, you not actually having expertise or having created success or done the thing that you're trying to teach other people how to do. And because of that, you don't actually have a process. I'll say that again. Folks out here, not having actually accomplished the thing that they are advising others, guiding others how to do. They don't have skills or expertise in that thing. Again, regardless of context, and this is very much going to be in the service providers more so than product provider folks. But yeah, if you have a business, you're a solopreneur and you're offering services and you don't actually have experience doing that thing, like, you're not going to get results for other folks because you don't know how to do it. So I don't know. I don't understand. And that's where authenticity comes from. It's like, what's real? You know, like when folks are like, oh, you know, I'm making this amount of money and you can have like these, you know, multi 4 or 5 figure months in business. And it's like, okay, that's great. But are you actually doing that? Are you actually living the life of your dreams fully supported by your business? Or is your partner paying most of the bills? Or do you have a bunch of money saved up? Right? Or are you working multiple other jobs or have other businesses? Now, to be clear, none of those things are wrong. And I do highly recommend, especially in this economic climate, to try to have multiple streams of income, including, if you need, having a job. But we got to have real conversations. So I'm always going to have real conversations with you, right? Because just like we can't afford to be perpetuating these capitalistic behaviors, like, and which is why I do often say, like, it's time to do business differently. Not to say that business is going to be easy. It's not. This is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, but it's also forced the most amount of growth in me. Right? Not the YouTube pre-roll ads. Yeah, a lot of them are showing out for IG. Yeah. And again, like, if you have those resources and you're doing that, that's fine. But to give the perception that that's all that is feeding into that lifestyle, that the resources that you are receiving is solely coming from that thing, rather than you actually, if we're really going to talk about wealth mindset, you do have to have multiple streams of income. That may be multiple businesses, but often it's going to be money that you have in relationship to a romantic partner, money that you have in your own savings, emergency savings, your own liquidity, right? Money that you have in stocks, 401k, like there's a lot that goes beyond just making money if we're really going to talk about wealth creation. So because of that, it's, again, I specifically don't present a certain way because, one, that's not true and authentic to my life. Like, you're not going to see me out here like vacationing and traveling the world because it's financially irresponsible for me. Like, just like flat out, it is. So I'm not going to present that aesthetic. I'm not going to be like, oh, you too can achieve this. It's like, no, I want you to achieve good stewardship of your assignment. I want you to be a good leader. I want you to be authentic. I want you to actually prioritize impacting people's lives and to hold that standard regardless of the social pressures, right? And to do whatever you need to do to make sure that you are taken care of financially, whether that is happening through your business or through other avenues, and to not have shame about that if you have to get that support in other places. Because you're supposed to have money coming from different places if you're trying to build wealth. Right? Great combo. Hello to the folks coming in. Let me wave hi. So for folks coming in, this is the Entrepreneur Mentorship Hour. Hour in quotes, meaning like I'll go up to an hour depending on the amount of questions that come through. I have pinned in the comments my PayPal if you would like to give donations. It's also in the link in my bio. It is much appreciated. We've been talking for a minute. It's almost about 40 minutes in. Okay, so any other stuff around leadership, or do we want to shift now to strategy? The folks I question about Strat 222, right? Emperor Tings out here. By chance, anybody else on here besides me and Meek Mill that are a 22 life path? Any other builders? Let me know in the comments. So strategy questions. Folks have questions about that. Do you know what strategy is? Is that one of those words where you're just like, what is this? What does this mean? Do you have questions about how to strategize growth in your business, how to strategize for yourself? Also, let me know if you're one. I love it, 122. I love it. Also, let me know if I actually answered the stuff that was coming up around leadership, because I really do go on tangents. So if there's still anything in there that you have questions about, let me know. Or if that helped provide clarity. And again, the leadership stuff was either the internal personal self-leadership, which I refer to as soul sovereignty, or the external, which is like either managing others or sales stuff. What could strategy look like in 2023? So strategy is, I'll give this definition, is your goals rooted in your why and achieved through your tactics. So for a broad question like that, what should strategy look like in 2023 is going to be related to your goals. So what area of your business are you wanting to improve? And then we can start to dissect that. Love the charge of being a good steward of your assignment versus the lifestyle marketing. Right. And, you can do both. But because, if you're doing the influencer thing, if you're selling that lifestyle, because again, some folks want that lifestyle. So if it's authentic to you, it's still good stewardship. But if that's creating a block for you, or if it's bending you out of shape to create this aesthetic of a lifestyle, that is not actually aligned with what is true for you, what you even want to have for yourself, or is even related to how your product or service is helping other people, then that's where you want to take a step back, right? And assess what you're doing and why. So, Aisha, any clarity about what specific area of your business for your strategy? Because strategy it's not a one and done thing. Again, there are frameworks and approaches to it, but in order for you to actually craft something for yourself, you actually have to be clear about what it is that you want. Any other questions around strategy? Welcome to folks coming in. This is the Entrepreneur Mentorship Hour. I'm thinking of actually coming on and doing these regularly, since I haven't been doing regular IG lives. So if that's something that you would like, either give me a heart or give me a thumbs up and let me know. I may do this every week. I was asking for future me and those who will watch. So this gets back to what I was saying in the beginning. Future you is being created right now. So what do you actually want to be stepping into? Right? And then we're already in Q2, the second quarter of the year. So what do you want to be true for your business by end of year? that you would work towards. That's your goal. So goal is like what you desire with a date attached to it. So by December 31st, 2023, what do you want in your business? Right? And being really honest about what can actually be accomplished in 9 months. But that gets fleshed out with the why and with the tactics. Welcome to folks coming in. Welcome, welcome. Lots of folks coming in. Hello. You know, folks may have goals of making more money. Again, that's a broad goal. Like, how much specifically compared to what you have now? And, what the trend has been, what you truly realistically see happening by the end of the year. And then why you want that. What does it mean to achieve that goal? The story behind the goal really can be eye-opening, because sometimes we'll set an arbitrary goal of like, oh, I want to hit a certain amount of money every month, right? And yeah, you can do that. But it's going to take time, resources, period, which is going to be time, money, and skills or other, people to make that happen. So the realism of the goal, the why of the goal has to be tempered by what can actually be invested into that. Often, a lot of time, and this is going to depend on the business too, because if you have a business that provides products or services that are at a somewhat lower price point, you have to sell significantly more units in order to increase your revenue. Like, that's just what it is, which often means that you have to spend a lot of money or put a lot into marketing and ads, specifically ads, so that you can expand your reach. So if you don't have ad money, which is, you're going to need to have ad money, then you'd have to think about, okay, well, what are some other avenues that I can do that, knowing that that is going to potentially not give me as much reach or as much consistent reach as I would with an ad, which I can control. So you got to think about that. If you have something that's more mid to higher range, might not necessarily have to do paid ads. You can focus more on organic growth, because the life cycle, the sales cycle for the client is going to be longer, because there's more discernment about getting your product and service. So they need to build trust over time rather than being caught with an ad, right? So that's a different tactic to apply to that. So tactics are going to shift depending, again, what the goal is and what the resources that you have. But again, it's a why. Like, why do you want to achieve this certain thing? And so the why, and then secondarily for this with the tactics, how you want to approach it. What do you actually want to invest time and energy to? What are you actually going to be consistent with over time, rather than just having a one and done thing? Like, is this something that actually is going to be a sustainable part of your business moving forward? Or is it just I have this goal of achieving this arbitrary goal, and whatever I have to do to achieve that goal is just whatever I have to do to achieve that goal, and consequences be damned, right? Like, that's not going to bode well for the long term. Yeah. We can be proactive about preventing burnout, which usually means having a slower growth, growing more leanly, and doing so intentionally, and not looking at your business as a popularity contest, because that's not why we're here. All right. It's gotten a little quiet, so I think I've gotten through most of the questions. Is there anything else? We're actually close to the hour, so we can definitely start wrapping up now. Anything else around strategy, leadership, or just any other questions or things that you are facing in your own business that you would like support coaching in? The more details you can give, the better my coaching can be to your specific situation. But yeah, I definitely love helping folks out and supporting them in their goals. So let's talk about it. And while you think about that and put your comments in, as a reminder, we do have the new moon solar eclipse happening next week. I believe it's next Wednesday at 29 degrees of Aries. So that will be affecting us for about 6 months. So through I think like mid-October, if I remember correctly. So yeah, just be really gentle with self, really pay attention to messages that are coming from spirit at this time. Really allow yourself to walk closely with your spirit and to use the fire and the courage that Aries brings with it to take agency and exercise your power in creating what you want to step into, the experience you want to have. Be less past oriented, past referencing. This in this moment now is past, right? So think about that in terms of what you want to create for yourself. It's just pretend you don't have anything from the past to reference, and you're really just starting with a blank slate. Truly. All possibilities exist. What do you want to seed for growth over the short term, midterm, and long term? Short term might be the next 30 to 90 days, so 1 to 3 months. Midterm might be by the end of the year or 12 months from now. Long term might be the next 2 to 3 to 5 to 7 years. What does that look like? Again, allow yourself to have a blank slate. No past referencing. And bring all of your talents, your tools, your wisdom, your expertise. That's all part of your toolbox. That's in your, if we're going to reference this to the tarot, that's what's in your pack that the Fool card has, right? So it's a really, really powerful time that we're stepping into. Okay, so it doesn't look like I have any other questions. So with that being said, thank you so much for those of you who joined in. Again, if there is interest for me doing these more regularly, whether weekly or bi-weekly, I'm open to both. Definitely let me know in the comments when this goes up. Of course, it'll be saved to the my feed. It'll be saved to my feed. And then, as you're watching this, if there are other things that come up around strategy or leadership or other questions that you have, definitely put in the comments. I will answer. I'm here to help and support. So just let me know. And if you would like to donate, you can donate at PayPal, which is either pinned here at the bottom. But if you're watching this on the recording, that link is in my bio. And yeah, that is it. I am currently have openings for new retainer clients. And that's going to be more so for folks who've been in business for a few years, right? They should be in for a few years if you're coming for a retainer with me. So you can find out more about that on my website. Just click on the tab that says private coaching when you get to the website, and you can learn more about that. If you are newer in business or you're not necessarily looking to work with me long term, you can also book an intensive called the Visioning Consultation Intensive that you can also find on the private coaching tab. Click on that and click on sessions on the drop down menu, and you will see that there. That is a 2-hour, might even go a little longer because again, I talk a lot, session with folks. You need to definitely be in business for at least a year. So we have some data to talk about, but we're going to do a deep dive and really drill into your why and set up some strategies and things for you to focus on for the next 30 days or possibly longer, depending on how well you know your business and how well things are going. So those are the current options in terms of working with me. So either in a long-term setting with a retainer, for those who've been in business for at least a few years, or if you've only been in business for at least a year and you just want a real deep dive and something to hold you for, a little while, then do the visioning consultation. I will be, or at least I'm planning, unless Spirit directs me otherwise, because you know how Spirit works. I'm planning on opening up another cohort for Sovereign, which is my small group coaching program, for a summer cohort. So that will probably open, since it'll be like a summer solstice, somewhere around that start time. I'll probably open up enrollment right at the end of either May or the beginning of June, and we would start in the latter part of June. So keep that in mind if you're wanting to, if you want to work with me as long term and you want something that's financially accessible, that would be the thing to do. That's a 6-month program. It's basically like getting a mini MBA without getting an MBA. If you will, but yeah, it's the thing. So, to the folks who are coming in, welcome. I'm just finishing up, so definitely watch this, like all the folks coming in. I am just finishing up the Entrepreneurship Mentorship Hour. So watch this recording. It's about to go up now as I'm jumping off. So I just went through all the information. I know. I see the crying emoji. I know, but listen, I put it up on my IG stories. I was like, I'm going on. But no, I know folks are busy there of work and things. So, but yeah, watch the replay. And again, if you do have questions, just comment on the video and I definitely will answer. But those are the ways that you can work with me. So either one-on-one in retainer or with the visioning consultation, or in less than 60 days, like 45 days, I'll be opening up enrollment for another iteration of Sovereign. So that's that. Yeah, and I would love to have you in that. And that honestly is like, y'all know I love my signature program, so that is my signature program. Yeah, so all right, love you all. Have a blessed day. Enjoy the upcoming eclipse, and yeah, stay safe.